actually on Twitter, there are a lot of people that are looking for artists. And if you just search, you're going to probably come across an art director or something that's looking for a new artist that isn't like, well known yet or is looking for work. And you never know. Sometimes it's just like that. And then you have a job and then you're like, oh, this is great.
You're listening to Art Heroes Podcast, the show to help you thrive as a digital artist. Tune in to learn how to transform your passion into a career. Get inspired by other kick-ass 2D and 3D artists and find out what it takes to be an art hero.
Welcome to the Art Heroes Podcast, guys. My name is Maria JD. I'm your host, and I'm really happy to know that you're here back with me this week. This week we prepared a pretty unusual guest for you. It's Asia Noble. She's a nomadic illustrator and now she's based in Bali, but she's been living all over the world for the past, 10 years. Asia works for a variety of clients, freelancing from World Bank to Google, and looks like she's doing a great job managing this lifestyle and her career. Let's talk to her and find out how she does that. Welcome, Asia.
All right. Yes, we are now live. Asia, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for coming to the Art Heroes podcast. I'm really excited to have you here, and I bet you're one of the most international guests we've had so far. Hi, Asia.
Hi. Thank you for inviting me, Maria. I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited.
Cool. Let's get going because I've got actually a whole list of things to cover. The other page as well. I hope I don't overwhelm you, but let's just actually start with maybe just you, because I bet you're the best one introducing yourself, and how do you define yourself as an artist and as a human being? So, a little bit of both.
Okay, well, my name is Asia. I just turned 30 this year. I'm a self-taught freelance illustrator. I started freelancing in about 2014. And right now what I do is I illustrate for packaging. I illustrate for animations. So I don't really animate myself, but I'm getting for animations. I do a bit of product design as well. And a bit of everything. But right now I'm focusing a lot more on my illustration career.
Yeah, amazing. And I know that you've had quite like diverse projects behind your back, like from books to like work for Google and and other exciting clients.
So I started out doing an educational book for this project with the World Bank in Belize. And it's like super disconnected from me, but like I was lucky enough to find this job online, and then I applied for it. Then I started doing educational books, and then I started doing book covers, and then I started doing children's books, and then eventually comics, and then eventually illustrations for, I'm not sure if you like craft beers. But I started doing, oh, perfect. I love craft beers. I got this job also a few years ago, and I still have it. And it's also brought me a lot of different but related jobs. I do like illustrations for beer packaging.
Wow.
And, yeah. And
amazing.
then now, somehow all of that experience, structured like illustrations with educational books has led me to creating animation assets for like companies like Google or Yahoo.
That's actually what I wanted to clarify a little bit more, because that sounds like super interesting, but what is an animational asset? So is it like a character? Is it like I don't know, what is it like?
It's a bit of everything, actually. So I am not the animator per se, although one day I will be. I'm actually starting. What they do is they give you a script, they give you a list of scenes, and you do everything. Well, depending on the project, I do everything from the character concepts to preparing the characters for the animators. And that means like making sure that it's easy for people to rig these puppets and animate them. I also do anything from, let's say, creating the background scenes to even just like that you see like for motion graphics. So I know that I also work with some people that prefer to just make things move versus drawing everything from scratch. So I'm the person that they ask to draw the things that they need to move.
Okay, yeah, cool. So that's basically 2D, so like flat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So and then how long does it typically take to create, I don't know, assets for like one piece, or it obviously depends on the type of the project?
It varies. It varies greatly from project to project. But let's say if it's like a 1 minute, 2 minute video, it can take anywhere between, let's say, 3 to 5 days for me to create all of the assets for it. And then as I'm creating, the animator is also like starting to rig all of the things that I create. So normally it's around a week to create a video that's about a minute or less long.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the what are the videos like? Is it also educational content, or?
It's a mix actually. This is why I started really enjoying it and really getting interested in animation. Is it started out actually as internal videos. And then it became more like, I don't know if you've heard of those whiteboard animations. I'm not a huge fan of whiteboard animation, but most of my experience from before came from that. And then now it's more like real animation. Sometimes it's frame by frame, sometimes it's more like using After Effects or like Adobe Animate. So like so it's not all educational. It's actually a lot of these animation videos are not, I wouldn't describe them as educational. I also wouldn't describe them as those graphic information videos on YouTube. I think it's more like for ads.
Okay.
Ads, how to use a product, what you can get out of a product, or like, for example, concepts. Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. So talk to me a little bit about the tools. So what is like, your key, the key software that you use, and like some of your favorites?
Well, I know that in the creative industry, everybody loves the Adobe suite. And honestly, like, they're amazing. They're super useful. But for me as an illustrator who started out with like illustration and stuff, if I could, I would use Clip Studio Paint forever. So when I'm sketching, I actually use Clip Studio Paint. Built within the program. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Clip Studio Paint.
No, actually, I haven't seen it before.
It's a great program. It's also like, I mean, I should probably get sponsored because I talk about it so much. But like, I wish, right? Clip Studio Paint is great because that's where I do all my sketches, and they have all these 3D models that are ready to use.
Okay.
For reference images, for my animation assets. You can even actually animate within Clip Studio Paint. But I do everything from sketch to painting there. But when it comes to preparing all these sketches for animation, I then move to Adobe Illustrator. Okay. And then from Adobe Illustrator, the rest of the team or whoever I'm working with, they move to After Effects and then, eventually to Premiere. But for me, all the magic for animation happens in Illustrator. Everything from making sure all the files are in good order, making sure that the characters are usable.
Okay, so I asked you a little bit about the videos, but actually, to me personally, books always have had like this magic, especially like illustrated books, and it's a really like special object. So when it comes to creating a book, like illustrations for a book, like would you be working alone? And again, like what happens with the time frame?
So for books, it's also the thing is with, and I'm sure this is the same with like the 3D industry, like the projects are so like
Yeah.
diverse. So like sometimes a book can take me like a month. Sometimes it's like a 6 month long ordeal. It really depends on who you're working with. So like sometimes I have a client who, let's say, comes to me and has an idea and I want to do a book, blah blah blah. So I price it according to, let's say, the amount of work that they need. And a lot of the time, the client or the author is the only one preparing a book. And so what I do from there is I have to like actually storyboard. I then start sending style frames, and then that can take anywhere, depending on the level of detail for a book. It can take me anywhere between one full day to like a month to make a page, because it really depends on the level of detail. I see a lot on Twitter that for books, it's like there's a whole like drama going on in the book illustration world about like fairly pricing book illustration.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So like a lot of people are like, you can't get paid hourly, it's too much. You can't get paid less than like 3K for like a page, it's too much, you know. So with that in mind, the pricing in mind, yeah, it's anywhere between a month to like 6 months, sometimes like a year to do a
Wow.
book, especially if it's me alone and I am working with the author. It's even longer if there's the editor that's like, you know, involved in saying, okay, actually you can't include this kind of like part of your illustration in this book, or the publisher wants to change this part of the book or redo this whole chapter, you know. So it's
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now I completely understand why actually books are so special. Of course, if you compare the, like the time frame it takes to produce a piece of a short video versus up to 1 year for a
Yeah.
book, that's
Yeah,
not
I mean,
that's not
if you look at all these like really gorgeous books, like I don't know, even the Winnie the Pooh books, I'm not really sure how long those took to make, but if you look at the care and the love that you put into the scenes behind Winnie the Pooh, it's like, you know, it's like, okay, this did not take you less than a day to like paint, you know. But then you also have people like uh oh my god, I'm forgetting one of my favorite artists for comics, the guy that paints Marvel and DC characters, like every panel is watercolor. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
I'm sure I
Man,
am, but I it's not
I'm
on top of
sure
my
you
head right
are.
now, but I'm sure I
Alex
am. Yes.
Ross, his
Yes,
name is
of
Alex
course. Of
Ross.
course.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at how Alex Ross, okay, but we're talking about graphic novels now, so I'm getting like a little bit
Yeah,
off
yeah, no,
track.
but still,
Yeah,
relevant.
like if you look at like the level of detail he puts into the faces and the scenes and the, you know, a lot of clients or a lot of like publishing house, well actually no, not publishers, mostly like authors that have no experience with books, they think that creating like a page or a piece of art is just like this.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're like, well, why is this taking so long? You're just drawing like one kid in front of like a living room or a sofa, and they're like, they don't understand that you have to like make sure that the perspective is right, that the sofa cushions make sense, and the kid is sitting in the right way, and then you have to draw the leaves, and yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah, no, completely. It's especially when you're alone in charge of the whole, I guess, like the whole thing. Not
Yeah,
like some other person is just designing the kid and
yeah,
you're just designing the sofa. So
yeah.
it's
It
basically
would be
the
great though. It would be great if we had some help. Like, I am so bad at backgrounds. If I could, I would just like draw people forever, like
okay.
with no background.
So let me take a little bit of a step back because I think you've got like the very, very interesting background and, also like how your life took you different directions. So I know you're originally from Philippines, right?
Yes, I'm
And
in one.
now you live in Bali.
Yeah, now I'm
Okay.
in Bali.
But like,
Yeah,
also like what happened in between is a big mystery. Meaning
yeah.
there's like 1 million countries. So, so how did this happen for you that you left Philippines and started traveling, like literally like
Um,
nomadic life?
well, I left. I've always wanted to like just see the world, even as a young kid. I really liked the book Around the World in 80 Days. And then, plus I'm super into fantasy books that take you traveling and stuff. So I wanted to go on my own quest. Anyway, totally unromantic start of my journey was I got a really good job that allowed me to travel the world in 2011. Completely unrelated to my art career, like completely. But it let me travel to all these wonderful places, meet all these amazing people, and it paid well enough that I was able to save some money to kind of start freelancing. So I've been traveling since 2011, and then I started freelancing around 2014.
Okay.
Uh, Most of the countries I went to was for this job, and the rest of the countries that I ended up actually staying in for like long periods of time were countries that really like inspired me to like pursue my freelancing career. It's like in 2014, um, yeah, in 2014 I was just like, I don't think I can work in this kind of job again, or any kind of job where I need to like
Did you do
sit
like
down.
sales or what? You're like
I was doing sales. That's a really good like intuition. Yeah, I was doing I don't know, I was doing something called like country promos, where you
yeah.
go around countries, yeah, and then you interview like the public government or private sector and doing sales for that, for like big magazines. Um, but I hated it. I was crying like every day. I was crying every day. And then the thing is, like, in between all of that, I was still drawing. I was always drawing, like, the people I end up meeting. I was sketching the places I would go to. And I remember, like, I was like, why am I still doing this? It doesn't make me happy. And I don't know. The first thing I ended up doing was go to Colombia, actually, where I ended up as an English professor. But interesting thing, during my whole, like, um, year and a half there in this university, they were looking for someone to do some graphic illustrations, and I was like, you know what? I've got some free time. Maybe I should do it. And so,
Wow.
like, yeah. So one of my first paid gigs was like for an English learning website in Colombia, drawing kids.
Wow,
And then that
amazing.
really helped, yeah, and then that helped me get some gigs for children's book illustrations later on. But yeah, so yeah, a year and a half in Colombia, and then I left. I traveled a few more places, and then I was like, okay, I'm done with traveling. Maybe I'll go back home for a bit. So I moved back to the Philippines for like another year and a half. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Boracay, but
Mhm. A little bit.
Boracay, yeah, it's like I love that place. It's like this. I'm not sure if everyone else on Art Heroes is
Yeah,
familiar, but I'm
probably
just gonna.
probably hard. Yeah, that's not an easy one.
Okay, so I'll describe it a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's literally paradise on earth. It's the beaches are white sand. The water, you can walk 200 meters out into the sea and you can see your feet.
Wow.
And it was great because not only was I there living off savings and burning through my money, I was surrounded by other people that are all were also living off savings and burning through their money, but all doing art. I met a few artists there who are still my friends. They were encouraging me to like, okay, maybe pursue your art thing, like keep drawing. So I was still drawing. Um, it was hard because the internet in Braga wasn't amazing. It was hard to do like my
Yeah.
client calls, and but at the very least, like I was doing all of this work, but I was in front of like the best looking palm trees in front of like blue water.
Okay.
Um, okay, I'm bragging a little bit now. It's just
No,
like this
no,
was
no. I'm like, amazing. I was just actually imagining this in my head. And I'm like, oh my
yeah,
God. I'm not sure I would like really enjoy it for a really, really long time because I bet you
not a
can
long
get
time.
tired of palm trees. Like, same way you
Yeah,
get tired of everything else.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm sure it was amazing.
It was. I mean, a year is enough. It's also known as a party island, and a lot of people actually know it as a party island. If you don't actually get into it, the impression is all you do is party there, which is not true. It's good for like if you're an artist because it's refreshing. There's art supplies, you can paint, you can chill, you meet other artists there somehow. And yeah, so after that I left again, so I go back and forth from all these places, and sometimes Manila to visit my grandparents, or like my family who's all in the States, because I'm the only one that isn't a resident.
Okay.
I have family in the Bay Area. So actually, like half of my family there, like my cousins, they're all artists also.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I have some cousins that have an art gallery over in Oakland. My sister is also a really good like sketch artist. Yeah, and I have a little brother, Thorin. I named him Thorin. He's also really into drawing right now, so I'm kind of helping
Wow.
that.
Okay.
But
So there's like the whole family thing.
yeah, my dad also is kind of like a frustrated artist. Like I saw his old sketchbooks, and I was like, "Why did you stop?" He's like, "There's no money in that," and I'm like, "I'm kind of surviving," but yeah, yeah. So I go back and forth, and then suddenly I find myself in Bali, and I haven't left.
Amazing, amazing. So when did you actually start freelancing like full time as of like, not looking for any other gigs rather than art gigs?
It was on and off for a long time. So I mentioned, I think earlier in this conversation that I started freelancing 2014.
Yeah,
So I was able to do that a few months, and then it was hard because I was just starting. I had no network. I
yeah,
didn't go to art school, so I didn't really have a lot of like artist friends. So it was literally trying to hit the ground running. And eventually I had to give up for a little while. Um, Actually, I started again. I restarted the freelancing full time for real without anything else. Was here in Bali actually also,
okay.
and so 2014 sorry, to 2016 was a bit of like up and down. So I would be like freelancing for like 4 to 6 months at a time, but I would be getting gigs on the side for
Yeah,
something else.
okay.
And then 2016, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start not taking any other jobs and let's see.
And it
But I mean, it
worked.
helps to have, yeah, it helps to have someone help you out too. Like I moved in with my partner as well, so we share expenses, we share the rent,
Yeah,
and he's the one that's been like really pushing me to like. He was the one
yeah,
that's like, why are you still getting other jobs? Why don't you just do this full time?
yeah.
So I did.
Yeah, no, I get that. So, like you mentioned two things, like network and art school. To what
Yeah.
extent do you think both are necessary? And, like, do you think um, you would be better off if you had an art school training?
Um, you know what's interesting? Like every time I mention something like art school, all of the bigger artists that I see on Twitter, or even like my friends who work really good jobs, they keep saying that you don't need it. But I don't know. I see that, I don't think most people would have gotten where they are without a little bit of help, right, from school. I mean, that's also the whole reason I'm taking my postgrad in illustration next year. Well, it's supposed to be
Oh,
this
you
year.
are. Wow. Okay.
I mean, it was supposed to be this year, but Corona happened, so it was postponed to 2021. I'm actually supposed to be in Barcelona right now, but
Right.
yeah,
Okay. So that's the
um,
full story.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, I think networking is really important. I think it's really important to be active in your art community,
Yeah.
or at least with other people who are super active in the art community. Most of my jobs have come not even from Instagram. If you think about it, if I think about it, most of my jobs have come from referrals, from people that know people that know people that know people,
Yeah.
from LinkedIn for some reason, and my website where I write stuff. So I get some hits, just talking about like me drawing. I get inquiries from people that want to work with me, and
Okay.
then Twitter helps sometimes, but most of it is actually like from the network.
Wow.
Like,
So,
yeah.
like, give me a few tips, like how to build your network without having one. Just like where to go. Imagine you're just starting,
Yeah.
no other artists. What would you do today?
If I were just starting, I'd probably start by one, social media is really powerful. And
Yeah.
even though I do say that I'm not personally getting a lot of stuff from social media, I do get a lot of information on who I can approach. what organizations I can join to make my work better, because it's always better to have someone else come in and tell you, hey, you're doing this well and you're not doing this so good, so maybe you should try doing this, and asking this person for advice. So I would say maybe start following people whose work you admire on social media, maybe engage with them, look for other people that are trying to improve their work as well. um, if you're looking for a mentor, start messaging people who you think could be a good mentor for you. Honestly, if I could restart my whole everything career related, I would somehow still find a way to go to art school or join like some sort of online art school where there's a huge community. I think that's
Okay.
important. Like, go out and look for communities either locally or like online, and those help a lot. Those help a whole lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of like getting tips and just like getting to know people who do the same thing as you.
Yeah, exactly. Or even even, you know what I like? I'm kind of a masochist like this. Sometimes when I join a new community, I look for, okay, the feedback channel on Discord. Discord is also really great for getting feedback and getting jobs actually. Um, I ask them for feedback, critique of my work. I always ask for a review of my body of work if they're willing, or if they just feel like roasting someone. It's good to kind of get roasted
Yeah, yeah,
every
yeah.
now and then. Yeah.
Do you get upset then?
No, actually, it's like I actually see the point in a lot of the critique that I get, and I appreciate it when someone. Okay, sometimes it hurts when they're like, that really sucks, but there's no reason for why it sucks. But if there's a reason that they say something I do sucks, then it doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Like if they say that arm is not in the right area, or you're using too much color here when you should pull back here, so it sucks. That doesn't
Or
really
like
suck.
or like the boy has 6 fingers.
Okay, the point that makes sense. I'd be like, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't know
Silly
why.
joke.
I don't know why I didn't see that. Yeah, if it's like that, that totally makes complete sense, and I'd be like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, but if it's like your art sucks, you should stop drawing, I'd be like, okay, I don't
Yeah.
really care. But I'm just block
Yeah, but
someone.
that's not critique. That is more of a being
Yeah,
like, being,
trolling or
yeah,
bullying.
trolling, or yeah, internet is full of these things. So I
Yeah,
don't think it's hard not to take things
yeah,
personally. But yeah,
yeah, because you're putting yourself out there.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like,
But yeah, I get it. I
yeah.
get it.
Even like this it's already hard. Just putting yourself in front of the camera and you're not really sure of how many people you're gonna reach, even if it's gonna reach like 5 people or 500. You know,
Hmm.
it's hard because one, you are literally going to be perceived
Yeah,
by many people from like based on like this short amount of time.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
without the context of knowing who you are exactly, and it's hard.
But I guess bottom line, what you just said, if I got you right, is that you should still do that. You will get
Yeah.
critiqued, but still, that will
Yeah.
be for the good.
It's really helpful for building skill and getting humble, getting used to actually also getting feedback from art directors. You need to get brought down sometimes, but like gently. Doesn't have to be like someone throwing you down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, just to round up this whole topic of like network and referrals,
Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you, how did you get like some of your best clients and like big names? Was it, and you mentioned that like some of it was about referrals.
Yeah.
Like, there is, I think it's always harder to get like to get to work with really big clients and
Yeah.
to maintain them over time, maybe even harder. So what do you think you did to get those? Not everybody
Um
could say like, oh my God, I worked with Google, and not even say,
yeah.
but just like have it on your portfolio. Or like with
Yeah.
World Bank.
Well, I guess the first thing you have to do is to get even close to that. I'm not really like a big fan of trying to chase the big names, because most of the time you don't really get to put a lot of yourself into that, a lot of your stamp, or like
Yeah.
your stamp at all into these works, because they get distilled by the marketing department, by legal, by
Yeah.
everything. But it's still really great to have these because they kind of legitimize. I'm not saying that if you haven't,
No,
you're
of
not
course.
legitimate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just maybe
but
makes
like
your life easier in the future.
it makes your life so much easier. You get legitimized in a way that, oh, okay, so this big corporation has entrusted this person with a responsibility to do this. And to even earn that kind of responsibility, I think it's important. One is to have a body of work that, that kind of shows the client that you're trying to get that you can do a certain style or a certain way, or that you even have the skills to implement the project that they need. Like, so one is just do the work, improve your skills first, display your best work if you can. And if you can't, like, because working with big clients also includes a lot of like NDAs, and sometimes like
Yeah.
for the World Bank, I wasn't able to like display any of that work for the next 2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. A lot of the other clients though, they're a lot more loose with this, so they allow sharing if it's for like a portfolio, when it's like when you're sharing it with when you're trying to get more work and stuff. Some clients just say like, no, you can't share any of this until it's published or until we're finished publishing is over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important, get your best work out there. And if you're not allowed to share something that you've done for a similar client that you want to do for this big client, make something similar.
Okay.
Just make something similar, so you can't be told that, hey, you're not supposed to show this character yet, we haven't launched this. So make something similar, change a few things, and say, this is something I created for X client that is doing this big thing in this
Yeah.
important industry. You can be vague, and then when you're actually talking one-on-one with someone, then you can show your body of work. A lot of the times I've asked permission to do that from my clients, and they've said yes. Thankfully now they trust me a little bit more, so I can actually display a bit more work. But
Okay.
yes, one is do the work. Two, if you can't do the work, or if you can't like show what you've done, change it a little bit so you can show work that displays the skill sets that you have to complete the job that they need. And
Okay.
then I guess what works for me is I literally just like messaging random people that are open to receiving like pitches or like DMs, because actually on Twitter there are a lot of people that are looking for artists, and if you just search, you're gonna probably come across an art director or something that's looking for a new artist that isn't like well known yet, or is looking for work. And you never know, sometimes it's just like that, and then you have a job and then you're like, oh, this is great. So
Wow. Really? Okay.
yeah.
I personally just don't use Twitter a lot, so it's just
Yeah,
a whole
it's
new
a mixed
world.
bag.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That is well, but I totally trust you. So, like you mentioned, some of the people that would be like a good point of contact are our directors, and who else? Like in terms of like profiles.
So like for illustrations and stuff, even for design stuff, because a lot of illustrators also work with designers or like art directors. So art directors work really well. If you're looking to get into like animation and stuff, or just even breaking into or putting in like trying to get experience, look for like producers, editors, stuff like that. Because a lot of the times, especially now, actually, there's a huge demand in people with like okay, for me anyway,
Yeah.
there's a huge demand for people that specialize. Like for example, if you specialize in Illustrator or if you specialize in After Effects, then there are higher chances of you getting a job with someone that you message on LinkedIn, than it would be if you do a little bit of everything. So
Yeah.
message people on LinkedIn if you see that they're looking for artists. Message like art directors, producers, editors. What else?
That's a great list, huh? That is very,
Yeah.
very. That is very, very
Graphic
helpful.
designers also have good in my case, I would say I'm lucky also to know graphic designers that know all of these other people. So sometimes there's a lot of connections that you can make
Yeah,
through
and
other
that's
people.
where our whole topic of network comes back into play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really need a network. You need a network. Otherwise, you're gonna like just you're just gonna dry up and like just wait for things to happen. You need to reach out to people. You also need to show interest, with
I think this is also a very important tip, because not every artist is skilled at reaching out and is like comfortable enough reaching out.
It's
You know,
hard.
yeah, it's hard.
It's
It's
hard
like
for me too. It's
sales.
like I just have to like put on my sales face and just be like, yes, I know what I'm talking about. you know,
Yeah,
like trust
yeah,
me. Yeah.
exactly. But that's really important, because I know a ton of great artists. They're just like, not reaching out enough, I think. And maybe
Yeah.
that's why they just don't get enough gigs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I I,
great
I only
reminder.
started. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cool. So another topic that I wanted to touch on is actually starting up, and I know you teach some of your skills as well. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like you've got a course on Skillshare, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
something also on Gumroad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the stuff on Gumroad are actually some of the stuff that I teach on Skillshare. I just put a little bit more in Gumroad because you can download it, and I just like providing more material there. So I really love teaching because that's how I learned to like I've learned everything from online classes, from other people talking, from webinars, from podcasts like this. Like there's so many good podcasts out there, and I'm really glad you're doing this also. It's
Thanks.
pretty awesome. Um, but yeah, I like to teach because it's something close to my heart because like there is nothing that can replace a really good class, and that's what I'm trying to strive for people that are trying to be self-sufficient, especially for people that can't have access to school like art school and stuff. Not only is it like a question of tuition, it's also a question of like physically being there physically, so if
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
definitely.
yeah. So like if I can contribute just even a little bit of my time and skill to make someone that's learning the same thing as I am,
Hmm.
if I want to make that journey easier, I do it. Like,
Right.
but in Skillshare, I have like 3 classes. The first class
Yep.
I ever did was more of like a Hail Mary. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna teach how I learned to draw faces, and that's not really a really popular class, but it was my first experience in trying to put myself out there and create a class, and it was so scary, but yeah, I got decent reviews from the few people that took it, and I did the second, and then now I have the third class up. It's pretty new. I just released it like a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So I have a learn how to use 3D references in Clip Studio Paint class, and I also offer this on Gumroad, but you can actually download it on Gumroad and watch it over and over.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
um, yeah, so it's pretty much a class on. I know that there's a 50-50 divide in the art world with using references. I don't believe in tracing over images, but I do believe in using references like to study. So like don't take a photo and draw over it, but in my class, I highly encourage using not only 2D references like images and faces to study how to draw like the nose, the eyes, the body, but I also encourage people to kind of use 3D references or 3D models so they can see how light affects a certain muscle, light affects
Yeah.
the contours of the face, the planes of the face. So yeah, so my class is pretty much just a really short intro to how to use the 3D models in Clip Studio Paint.
Right. Okay. Cool. Very interesting. And so, actually, what exactly what classes did you take as a beginner when you were starting out? Like,
Oh,
was it about like software introduction or more like actual like art classes?
I did everything,
Oh,
but
okay.
mostly it was all software. It was all software. So it's hard to learn the software, especially I think if you remember maybe when Adobe was using the CS series, before it became CC,
Yep.
and I'm not gonna say that, as a teen, I've always been interested in digital art ever since like I was a kid. Not as a kid, as a teenager. 'Cause as a kid, I was just drawing all the time. But as soon as I got my first copy of Photoshop, I think it was like Oh my God, it was a baptism of fire. There were so many panels. I was like, what am I doing? So everything was learning, trial and error. But thankfully, I had so many of these people also teaching on YouTube, practical ways. And DeviantArt. I'm not sure if you're,
Yeah, DeviantArt, yes, definitely.
yeah. So DA and then YouTube were like my two main schools of learning the software. And then for fundamentals of art, I don't think I really took a lot of those classes. I started taking those classes recently, like in the last 5 years or so, because I actually saw my old work and I was like, ew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes when you look at your old sketchbooks, you're like, what? Did I
Yeah.
ever think this was good? But yeah, so yeah, most of it was software. It's really hard to learn the software if you don't have a structure.
Yeah,
I mean, you know
agree.
how some software is like
Yeah,
just
no,
plug.
I like we have our students at Art Heroes always ask like a bunch of questions, and for example, like ZBrush, it's our main tool for like 3D art, and yeah, so we're just preparing a fundamentals on ZBrush course, just because everybody needs to know the details.
Yeah,
And like the have like a structured way of going through it, because even sometimes after like working with the software for months, you're still missing, and even after years maybe you
yeah,
don't know all the possibilities. So yeah, and same with like Adobe, all of them.
exactly. Like you can be working for like 10 years with Adobe. If you don't refresh the new stuff and the new
Oh yeah.
features, you're doing the job like 3 times harder. Like for example, because of my hubris or my ego, I didn't realize that with Photoshop there was content aware fill for the longest time. So I would do it manually. Like, like just like now you can actually just select the subject and it's gonna do it for you. And I used to literally just do it all from scratch.
Right.
Yeah, you're making life harder if you don't do the fundamentals for sure. And I really like classes that explain everything from like the basics.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I think it's great that you're putting yourself out there and actually recording your knowledge. I think it's always helpful to know the perspective of another artist as an artist, and just like learn from somebody who's doing stuff that you like. So
yeah,
I think it's really powerful, and yeah. I think there
yeah,
is. You also mentioned that there is a special discount for Art Heroes podcast listeners, right?
yeah,
So, okay, cool. So I'll put a discount code under the video and also in the show notes to this
sure.
episode. I think it was
Yeah,
Art Heroes.
yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
cool.
it was yeah, art. I think it was just Art Heroes.
I'll put all the links and all the discount codes just there,
Yeah,
so that
so I don't
we
remember right
don't
now, but
blind
yeah,
people on
something
the
like that.
show. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Asia, as I'm wrapping up, a
yeah.
good little tradition here in the podcast. Like there is a little questionnaire, and
Mhm.
you are to reply with a few words to every question. And I'm ready when you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Ready?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. So, what's your number one tip for combating distractions when working from home?
Close the doors, face the wall, play some lo-fi music. Don't drink too much coffee. Okay,
Okay,
that's more than one. Sorry,
that's
but
all
that's
right.
like
That's
one
great.
package.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's like, package, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite tradition or holiday?
Halloween.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's your favorite way to get in some exercise?
I try to do yoga in the morning and then go to the gym, but Corona. But yeah, yoga
Okay.
and a little bit of weight.
Okay, cool. What's your most used emoji?
Oh, it's the emoji where you're crying with two rivers of tears down. That's how I feel inside all the time.
Oh my God. Uh,
Yeah.
what's your source of inspiration?
Other artists.
Cool. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Never think that you know everything you know. Always ask if you
Cool.
know 100% story or okay, that was not really like
Yeah, cool. That was
catchy,
great.
yeah. Yeah.
How do you celebrate little victories?
I like to celebrate the victories with the little things. So I always have like a bar of chocolate in my fridge. So after I do like one part of the job, I sneak to the fridge and eat a little bit of chocolate.
Oh my God. I hope you don't
Yeah,
have too many of those.
I'm trying to train myself, you know. Yeah.
Love that. So if you could see one movie again for the first time, what would that be?
Definitely Spirited Away
Yeah,
yeah, Studio Ghibli, yeah.
I get goosebumps when I hear Spirited Away, even
Yeah,
in
it's
name.
so
Yeah,
it's one of the favorites, one of my favorites, yeah.
cool. If you could choose any two famous people to have dinner with, who would you go out with?
Oh, definitely these two writers that whose work I love, N.K. Jemisin and Patrick Rothfuss, mostly for the fact that I want them to start talking, and I want Patrick Rothfuss's stereotypes called out by N.K. Jemisin. But yeah, that's it. I just want to see both of them argue.
Amazing. And finally, what's your backup career?
Maybe I'll be a basket weaver, or or maybe, well, I used to
What a
teach
typical
mermaiding, so
thing. What a
yeah.
typical thing. Everybody would be a basket weaver in their backup career. Yeah, anyway, so what was the other thing?
Oh, I used to teach mermaiding, so maybe I'll try to teach mermaiding again.
Mermaiding? What is that?
Yeah, like you teach people to swim in mermaid tails. Oh my God, please don't search it. But yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I used to have my tail right here.
Oh my God, really? Really?
Yeah, I have
Is it for real?
I even have the instructor's guide. Yeah, I just keep it there as a reminder to, I have a
Jeez,
backup.
that goes right to my bucket list, like learn how to
I'd
swim with
gladly
a,
teach you.
oh my
I would
God.
gladly teach you if we ever like cross paths internationally or like in some country somewhere.
Oh my God, I've just added the so that I don't forget. That was a mermaid's tail. That's my drawing skills. That goes to my bucket list. Wow.
That's
Wow. That's great. Okay, Aisha, thanks so much. And, thanks for sharing all of those. I
Thank
think
you
that
for
was
having me.
really, really helpful and very, very interesting. So, as I said, all the links will go to the show notes. And yeah, thanks for coming
Thank you for
again.
having me. Yeah.
All right. And I'll
Bye.
see you again.
See ya.
Ciao.
Alrighty, guys, I hope you had fun listening to this episode. Just a little reminder, I'm leaving all links that we mentioned during this episode right here in the show notes. So you can go to artheroes.co/podcast and get access to all the discounts that were mentioned during the podcast, including Aisha's tutorials. And also, I'm leaving a special preview of ZBrush Fundamentals course that we're releasing with Art Heroes any moment now. So you can already watch the first lessons of it for free on our website, and the link to it is right there in the show notes too. All right, well, have fun, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to Art Heroes Podcast. Check out www.artheroes.co for show notes, more interviews, and free tools made for you by our team of mentors. Tune in next week for more inspiration, and keep up the great work, hero.